The Anderson family dinner was always an exercise in humiliation, but tonight they'd outdone themselves. I parked my 2012 Toyota Camry between my sister Victoria's new Mercedes-AMG and my brother Michael's Porsche 911, already knowing what was coming. "Oh look, Sophie's still driving that thing," Victoria's voice carried across the country club parking lot, perfectly pitched to ensure everyone heard. She stood with our parents, both dressed impeccably for what was supposed to be a casual family dinner. I smoothed down my simple black dress, a Chanel original that they'd assume was a department store knockoff, and grabbed my laptop bag. Inside, hidden among ordinary work documents, sat the final paperwork for tomorrow's acquisition of Anderson Global Industries, my family's supposedly prestigious but secretly failing company. "Darling, you really should consider upgrading," my mother said, air-kissing my cheek. The valet looked positively mortified having to park it between actual luxury vehicles. If only they knew that my embarrassing car was a choice, not a necessity. That the real luxury was in the private hangar across town where my Gulfstream G650 waited for tomorrow's grand entrance. "I'm comfortable with my car, Mother." I took my seat at the table, deliberately placed far from the rest of the family. "It gets me where I need to go." "That's the problem with you, Sophie," Michael chimed in, swirling his overpriced wine. "No ambition. While Victoria and I are expanding Anderson Global, you're content being. What exactly are you doing these days?" "Investment consulting," I replied quietly, thinking of my real company, Phoenix Capital, which had spent the last 3 years quietly acquiring Anderson Global's debt through various shell companies. "Oh yes, your little consulting thing," Victoria smirked. "Still working from that shared office space downtown?" That shared office space was actually a front. My real headquarters occupied the top 3 floors of the city's most prestigious building. But they'd learn all that tomorrow. "Speaking of Anderson Global," my father began, his voice carrying that forced confidence I'd learned to recognize. "We're about to close a major international deal. Finally taking the company truly global." I suppressed a smile, knowing that their major international deal had fallen through last week. My sources inside their company had kept me well informed of every desperate attempt to save their sinking ship. "Wonderful news," I murmured, checking my phone discreetly. A message from my CFO confirmed what I already knew. Anderson Global stock had dropped another 15% today. Tomorrow, when the markets opened, it would fall even further. "You see, Sophie," Victoria leaned forward, her diamond bracelet catching the light. "While you're playing at business in your little office, we're building something real. Something lasting." If she only knew that Phoenix Capital had already acquired 47% of Anderson Global's shares through various front companies. That tomorrow, when their major international deal publicly collapsed, we'd buy the remaining shares for pennies on the dollar. "More wine, dear," my mother offered, probably hoping to avoid another one of Victoria's lectures about my life choices. "You know, the Henderson's son is still single. He's a junior partner at Goldman now." "I'm focused on my career, Mother." "What career?" Michael snorted. "Giving financial advice to small businesses? Please, that's not a career, that's a hobby." I thought about the documents in my bag, about how tomorrow they'd learn that their hobby sister had built a financial empire worth billions. That their desperate attempts to save Anderson Global had played right into my hands. "At least she's trying," my father sighed, checking his Rolex, probably calculating how many more of those he could afford once the truth about Anderson Global's finances became public. "Though Sophie, seriously, it's time to join the real business world. There's still a place for you at Anderson Global." "Actually," I said, finishing my wine, "I have a rather important meeting tomorrow. A potential client with an interesting investment opportunity." "Oh." Victoria's eyebrows rose mockingly. "Finally landed a big fish in your little pond?" "Something like that." I stood up, gathering my things. "You might even hear about it on the news." "The only business news tomorrow will be about Anderson Global's expansion," Michael declared confidently. "But I'm sure your little client meeting will be quaint." If he only knew that tomorrow's business news would indeed be about Anderson Global, but not in the way he expected. I walked to my embarrassing Toyota, listening to their laughter fade behind me. In less than 24 hours, that laughter would turn to stunned silence when my private jet landed at their company headquarters. My phone buzzed with a message from my assistant. "Everything's prepared for tomorrow, Ms. Anderson." The jet is fueled and ready. The press release is scheduled and the board members have been notified of the emergency meeting. Perfect, I typed back, starting my car. Time to show my family what a disappointment can really accomplish. The morning sun glinted off Anderson Global's glass headquarters as I watched from my penthouse office across town. My phone had been buzzing non-stop since 6 a.m. when the news broke. Anderson Global's major international deal had collapsed spectacularly, taking their stock price with it. Ms. Anderson, my assistant Emma appeared at the door. Your family has been trying to reach you. Your sister has called 17 times in the last hour. I smiled, checking the markets on my laptop. Anderson Global's stock had plummeted 43% since opening. Exactly as planned. And the board members? All confirmed for the emergency meeting at 11 a.m. They're eager to meet the representative from Phoenix Capital who holds their debt. I stood up, smoothing down my custom Armani suit. Time to give them what they want. The private elevator took me to the building's rooftop helipad where my helicopter waited. In 20 minutes it would deliver me to my jet, creating the entrance I'd planned for years. My phone buzzed again. This time a frantic text from Michael. Sophie, if you're really in investment consulting, we need your help. Urgent. Anderson Global is under attack. Another message from Victoria. Whatever clients you have, whatever connections, we need them now. Family emergency. I tucked my phone away, thinking of all the family dinners where they'd mocked my little consulting business. The helicopter lifted off, giving me a perfect view of the chaos unfolding at Anderson Global. News vans clustered around the entrance. Employees huddled in groups, clutching their phones and watching their company stock options evaporate. And there, pacing frantically by the executive entrance, were my father, Michael, and Victoria. The jet is ready, Ms. Anderson, the pilot's voice came through my headset. Weather's perfect for a dramatic entrance. Perfect indeed. I'd chosen today specifically for its clear skies and minimal wind. Nothing should distract from what was coming. As we landed at the private airfield, I caught sight of my Gulfstream G650, its dark blue exterior gleaming. The tail number, cleverly registered to another shell company, revealed nothing about its true ownership. Latest update, Emma reported as we boarded. Your father has called an emergency board meeting. They're desperately seeking investors to stop the bleeding. Well, I settled into my leather seat. Let's not keep them waiting. The flight to Anderson Global's corporate airfield took exactly 12 minutes. Through the window, I could see a small crowd gathering, board members, executives, and my family, all waiting to meet their potential savior. They're expecting a Mr. Phoenix, Emma noted, checking her tablet. The mysterious CEO of Phoenix Capital. Time to exceed their expectations. The jet touched down perfectly, taxiing to a stop in front of the waiting crowd. I could see Victoria squinting at the windows, trying to glimpse the powerful investor they hoped would save their company. My father stepped forward as the jet's door opened. Even from inside I could hear him practicing his pitch, desperately trying to sound confident. Remember, I told Emma, release the press statement the moment I step out. The jet's stairs descended and I took a deep breath. 8 years of planning, of working in secret, of enduring their mockery while building something greater than they could imagine, it all came down to this moment. I stepped into the doorway, pausing deliberately to let them process what they were seeing. The sunlight caught my designer suit, my perfectly styled hair, the quiet confidence of someone who held all the cards. The silence was absolute. Victoria's mouth fell open. Michael dropped his phone. And my father, for the first time in my life, was speechless. Hello, family, I said, descending the stairs. I believe you were looking for Mr. Phoenix? Sophie. Victoria's voice cracked. What are you doing here? I'm here for the board meeting. I reached the bottom of the stairs, Emma 2 steps behind me with the acquisition documents. Though I believe you were expecting Phoenix Capital CO? That's impossible, Michael stuttered. Phoenix Capital is a multi-billion-dollar investment firm. You're just a what, Michael? I opened my briefcase, removing the documents that would change everything. A disappointment, failure, a small-time consultant. My father stepped forward, his face ashen. Sophie, what's going on? Before I could answer, phones started buzzing throughout the crowd. The press release had hit. Phoenix Capital, led by CEO Sophie Anderson, announces acquisition of controlling interest in Anderson Global Industries. You see, I said, watching their faces as realization dawned, while you were all busy mocking my career choices, I built something. Something much bigger than Anderson Global will ever be. Victoria grabbed my arm, her designer bracelet jangling frantically. This is a joke, right? Some kind of revenge prank. I gently removed her hand. Check your phone, Victoria. Check the business news. Phoenix Capital owns 47% of Anderson Global's shares, most of your corporate debt, and after today's stock collapse, will be acquiring the remaining shares at a significant discount. But your little consulting office, Michael sputtered. Your old car. Appearances can be deceiving, brother dear. Something our grandfather taught me before he died. The best power is the kind they never see coming. The Anderson Global boardroom felt smaller than I remembered. Perhaps it was the tension that made the space seem confined, or maybe it was simply that I'd grown beyond the place that once intimidated me. The numbers are quite clear, I stated, standing at the head of the table, my father's usual position. The presentation behind me showed Anderson Global's true financial state, far worse than even the board members knew. Your company has been hemorrhaging money for the past 3 years. The only thing keeping you afloat was the promise of this international deal, which you sabotaged. Michael shot to his feet, his face red. You've been planning this, waiting like a snake to strike. I smiled coolly. The deal collapsed because it was built on falsified projections. Documents your team provided, Michael. I simply made sure the truth came to light. Victoria sat silently, still scrolling through news articles about Phoenix Capital on her phone. About me. About the empire I'd built while they thought I was playing at business. This is how you repay your family? My father's voice shook with rage. By destroying everything we built? Destroying. I clicked to the next slide. No, father. I'm saving it. Phoenix Capital is offering to acquire all remaining shares at $32 per share, significantly more than they'll be worth by market close. That's barely a quarter of what they were worth last week, a board member protested. Last week's value was an illusion, built on Michael's creative accounting and Victoria's empty promises to investors. Would you prefer I let the SEC discover the discrepancies in your books? The room went silent. My siblings' faces turned pale. You wouldn't, Victoria whispered. We're family. Family. I laughed softly. Like when you told the board I was emotionally unstable after I questioned your investment strategy. Or when Michael spread rumors about my failed business attempts to discredit my consulting work. Emma appeared at the door. Ms. Anderson, the press is waiting for your statement. And your parents are insisting on speaking with you. Send them in, I said. They should be here for this. My mother burst in first, tears streaming down her face. Sophie, darling, we can talk about this. Whatever grievances you have. This isn't about grievances, Mother. It's about business. Something you all claimed I never understood. I distributed folders to everyone present. Inside you'll find 2 options. Option 1. Phoenix Capital acquires Anderson Global. Current management is replaced, but all employees below executive level keep their jobs. Option 2. I walk away and the SEC receives an anonymous tip about certain irregularities in your books. You'd send your own brother to jail? Michael's voice cracked. You were willing to bankrupt hundreds of employees to maintain your lifestyle, I countered. Which of us is really betraying people who trusted them? The board members were already reviewing the documents, their expressions shifting from anger to resignation as they realized the truth about their company's situation. The vote is simple, I continued. Accept Phoenix Capital's offer, or face the consequences of your choices. One by one, hands raised in favor of the acquisition. My father was last, his hand shaking as he lifted it. Excellent. I nodded to Emma, who began collecting signed agreements. And now a few personnel changes. Michael, Victoria, your resignations are expected on my desk by end of day. You're firing us? Victoria's voice rose hysterically. You can't. I can and I am. Though you might want to keep your voices down. The press is waiting outside and I'm sure you'd prefer they focus on the acquisition rather than the family drama. My mother stepped forward, trying one last time. Sophie, please. Whatever we did to hurt you. This isn't about hurt, mother. It's about competence. About building something real instead of maintaining appearances. It's about proving that your disappointing daughter actually learned something about business after all. I gathered my things, preparing to meet the press. Oh, and one more thing. That dinner next Sunday? I'll have to cancel. I'm taking my jet to Singapore. Some actual international deals to close. Feel free to drive your luxury cars to the country club without me. The press conference was brief but effective. I presented the acquisition as a strategic move by Phoenix Capital, never mentioning the family connection. Let them discover that detail on their own. Later that evening, in my real office overlooking the city, I watched the business news coverage. Anderson Global's stock had stabilized following the acquisition announcement. My phone was filled with messages from family members, ranging from angry accusations to desperate attempts at reconciliation. Emma brought in a final report. The transition team is in place. And your sister tried to access her executive account. It's already been deactivated. Thank you, Emma. How about that little project I asked about? She smiled. The old Toyota has been donated to a women's shelter as requested. Your new car will be delivered tomorrow. Perfect. I turned back to the window, thinking about choices and consequences. About the quiet power of patience. About success that doesn't need to announce itself until the perfect moment. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Victoria. I understand now. What you built, what you achieved. I'm sorry we never saw it. I didn't reply. Some lessons don't need acknowledgement. Some victories are sweeter in silence. And sometimes the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. Tomorrow Phoenix Capital would begin reshaping Anderson Global into something better. My family would learn to live with their new reality. And I would continue building my empire, not to prove anything to them anymore, but because that's what real business leaders do. Success, after all, isn't about driving the right car or sitting at the right table. It's about seeing opportunities others miss, about working quietly while others boast loudly, and about knowing that sometimes the biggest disappointments can build the most impressive empires. As night fell over the city, I raised a glass to the future. Not as the family disappointment, but as the CEO who turned their mockery into millions. Sometimes, the best response to being underestimated is simply to succeed beyond their wildest expectations.